Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be a couple minutes. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I do for defensive builds for PvP. First thing you're going to notice right off the bat is that my base is small, and it's like that on purpose, because the smaller the base you have, the smaller the area you have to defend, and the more resources you can dedicate to putting defenses in a small area. And I'm going to talk about the way that I've built the defenses. Another thing is currently the entry-level shields, the green shields that you see here, there's an issue with the shields right now, to where if you have overlapping shields, your turrets will shoot the overlapping shield and instead of the player, and it's basically gonna drain your mana generators. And so the player can sit in one spot on either side of the overlap and just let the turrets shoot the generator until it runs out of power. And that's what this guy did to me on our last. We had a massive base on the last server I was on, and I was like, hey, I wasn't salty. I knew who it was, and I wasn't salty about it. I was like, hey, what, tell me what you did so that the game's new, we can get better at building. And he's like, oh yeah, he was cool about it. He's like, yeah, basically your turrets were just shooting your overlapping shields. Okay, good to know. And so for now, just making a base that can be completely enveloped by one shield. Now, you may say, and I'm not going to throw my girlfriend under the bus, but I'm going to use her as an example. She's like, well, it sounds like we don't need a shield then. And the problem is you do need a shield, because what can happen is if someone has siege damage on a projectile spell, they can just hover on a broom outside of turret range, and I refer to arcane obelisks as turrets because that's what they are. They can hover outside of these the range of the obelisk, and just shoot projectile fire at a wall, and then just pop bark skin and fly right into your base once that wall's destroyed. So you need shields if you're trying to defend properly. So we talked about shields, and that's why it's one. Now I have to go in single player, and I recommend you do this too. For any like this build, test it in single player first. Do the same thing. I'm going to go in single player, and I'm going to be expanding the base, but we're going to be upgrading to the next level of obelisk, protective obelisk, which is the warding obelisk. It has a bigger shield radius on it, and so I have to go and make sure that what you don't want to happen is the shield is so big that they can get inside your shield and not be shot by turrets. And what that's going to do is allow them to do the same thing, just stay at a range and lob fireballs at your base. So I got to go test that out. But make sure your shield is tight, but that it's also covering your base and all your turrets. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the turrets itself. So on a big base, you can have this many turrets spread out across a large area. The turrets don't hit terribly hard, so you need a lot in a small area. And I don't see people doing this, but this is what you have to do right now. You need to place your turrets on these acute roofs, or floors, excuse me, acute floors. It's going to give you better line of sight. I see a lot of people putting turrets on triangle pieces or putting them directly on the ceiling. You need the best line of sight you can get, which is going to be on these acute roofs, because they will shoot. These turrets will shoot straight down. Okay, and so that's another method. And I've kind of, if you notice, I've staggered the acute roofs, like from that level to this level. They're all staggered so they're not mirrored in the same exact position throughout the build, so that if somebody does fly right up to this, they're going to get shot by maybe 4 to 6 turrets at a time. Kind of like I was talking about the guy who he hasn't flown up since we beefed up the base, but he's basically just flying up here, and you can see my tames here. And if you were someone who's not on my team, you could fly up and just look through the wall and see the tames. He's just flying here on his Phoenix and shooting fire through the wall like that, like a little you know what, I won't say it, but anyway, so that's the concept with the turrets. And another thing, it sucks to grind, but you need to upgrade these turrets to max level. The entry level turrets no offense to the developers, they are a joke. Like, you have an entry-level turret in the beginning zone. It takes like 5 shots to kill a boar, and it uses a bunch of mana out of the generator. It's like, come on, dude. They suck. The turret damage needs to be increased on this. But the way that this is set up, it's really nice. And just to test it out a lot, I'll aggro wild dragons to the base, and they die like almost instantly with this setup. It's awesome. But yeah, we're going to add more turrets today, but that's just to give you an idea. Stagger your turrets, max them out. It's a grind, but it's worth it. It'll keep your base safe. It'll keep your tame safe. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you a building technique. Also, as I've said in the prior videos, symmetry with your builds, so that there's not like a wall sticking out or something to where somebody can just fly under the wall and break line of sight and not get hit by your turrets. So symmetry is big. Ugly builds, ugly boxes work great for defense. So I'm going to show you something else. I don't have a throne here, but my girlfriend has her throne in here. And so what this is it's a couple of things. One, we're going to build it up, but it's basically going to have 2 of the same bases across from each other on these 2 platforms. One base will have half the stuff, the other base will have half. If you want to, for this area of the map, for these bases, not, as you can see, like, also people use siege thrones to have second bases, just FYI if you want to do that as well, and that's what we're going to be doing. But you have to hit both of these bases to get all my stuff, basically. And so, which is fine, it's just going to take a little more time. But let me show you something cool. Do I have marble on me? I don't have enough. I think this dragon has marble. Let me grab the marble out of this dragon. And I'm going to show you, and again, this is lessons learned. A lot of this is these are max level turrets, by the way. This is from lessons learned. This is not my, I didn't come up with this idea, but I'm definitely using it now. And it's honeycombing the walls. I've always honeycombed the walls, but this is a different way of honeycombing. So honeycombing the walls with diagonal walls, and actually, this would be better if there was a wall right there. But honeycombing the walls with diagonal walls so that you're not just breaking in and then there's a wall there. There's this wall, there's another wall on the other side. So honeycomb each segment that you're protecting a throne with these diagonal walls. It's going to be very annoying for the person who's breaking into the base. Not to mention, it's very possible they may run out of spell energy on their siege spell. And if they do, then they're SOL. They just did all that work and wasted all that energy for nothing. So the outer layer, if you're trying to protect the throne, all that, honeycomb it with the diagonal walls, and it's gonna take people longer to get through your base. I mean, like, basically twice as long, because they have to get through this wall, they have to get through this diagonal wall here, and then they have to get through, no matter, it's, for someone should assume that the throne of this would be somewhere in the center of this, right? The top of this base is the most guarded, so it's less likely someone's going to come in from the top, just because they're going to get hit with every single turret if they come in through the top. Is it possible? Yeah, anything's possible. But each of these turrets is max level, and each tick while you're on a broom, it is going to do significant damage. So it's just like, if they do come in through the top, they can do some hits, fly out to heal. It's going to take a long time, though. So just some things to think about there. As far as turret placement on these acute floors, maxing, just grinding. Trust me, and the same thing I tell my girlfriend all the time. All these tames, they're useless if you can't defend them. So the base itself is more important than the tame. So if you don't have a base to store, a safe place to put your tames, then you need to just get your entry-level dragon and just go farm until you have a safe place to log out at night. So, yeah, if you have questions about it, please post below. Again, I'm not saying that this is the best build. This is better than pretty much every type of base I've seen. There's better builds out there. There's just not a lot of content on the game yet, and I'm just trying to help the community out because I hate, and I'll fly over, and I think this is the guy who's coming to my base and shooting it, and I hate to put him on blast on YouTube. If you're not the guy, then I do apologize, but this server, this is an official PvP server. It is packed with these massive bases that don't have any real protection. They have like a few turrets. Like, what is that? It's like a, not even, oh yeah, that is a flame turret. Those things actually shoot pretty fast. But that one's actually not even leveled up. And look, they have these massive bases with a few turrets. Look at that. If I was on a broom, break into this wall, you know, obviously I'm not going to do that, but I'm just saying, these massive bases, all this work you're putting in, useless. Especially, I'm getting hit by what, one turret? And look, if you fly in, it hits its own shield. So, you know, if this isn't the guy who's doing it, I'm sorry for putting your base on blast. If you do see this video and you're like, oh, I know that douchebag that's built next to me, bro, I'll help you design a better base. If you want to have a big base like that, you got to grind for the defenses too. But anyway, I'll show you guys something else that's annoying me. Yeah. Some guy is like building up, I mean, I don't know if he's going to try to build this entire island into a base, but like, what the hell is this guy doing? And actually, these were all floors earlier, so I wonder if someone came and destroyed them. But, like, what the hell, dude? You're gonna, like, crash the server with all these structures. Anyway, I digress. But, yeah, you'll find big bases like that that look cool, but can easily be raided. And if they can easily be raided, guys, I hate to tell you, it's gonna get raided because that's what people do. They like to offline bases. They don't like to PvP. They just like to break into your base, get some loot, and then dip. So build small, and then grow from there. Once you get something secure like this, oh god, I'm gonna eat my words when this base gets offline. But once you have something that is well defended, like this, then then focus on saving up resources to build out. Now, this setup, if you're still watching the video, because I know that you guys are excited to get out there and do your builds, this setup, I'm kidding you not, it shreds from pretty much every angle. I mean, there's some angles that you can come in to not get hit right away so you can get close, but then you're going to get shredded. Because the max level Infernal Dragons have less than 40k HP. And so even if they come in and try to soak some turrets, it's going to be a lot of back and forth of them healing their dragon. Or, 5 guys come in, it's still going to be a lot of back and forth because there's a ton of generators in there. That base isn't going offline anytime soon from soaking. And then, of course you need to have, okay, I guess I did goof by not mentioning this. Lots of mana generators. Make sure they're set up in a way so that if you lose a generator, or a generator loses power, it can still pick up off another generator, which means mana nodes, spreading mana nodes out throughout your base. Also, you need lots of power, obviously. You also need, are they Reformation or I think they're called Reformation nodes. Hang on. Yeah, Reformation Stones. These things will, for the cost of mana from your generator, they will repair your structures. And I don't want to say these things are broken, because I think offline raiding, that the developer should do whatever they can to stop offline raiding without fully protecting a base, But these Reformation Stones, they repair structures so fast. And so, especially compared to how siege damage works, let's say you have 10% siege damage on a spell, and we'll call it, let's just say you have 10% siege damage on a blizzard spell, right? This blizzard spell. I have decent gear. Each one of these ticks is like, let's call it 200. Let's call each tick 200, and it'll tick 6 times before the spell's up, which would be 1200 damage. But since we only have 10% siege damage, that's 120 damage. So only 120 damage would be applied to the structure, but the Reclamation Stone will heal it faster. Ooh, I need to feed that phoenix I just tamed. Will heal it faster than you can do damage to it. So essentially you kind of have to, unless you have like multiple spells that you're just spamming that have siege damage on it, you kind of have to drain the turrets if you're going solo. But best way to I shouldn't give tips here. Well, let's say somebody is online and defending. Best way to hit a base, steamroll it with like 5 or 6 people. It splits up the turret damage. You know, multiple people can be hitting the base and damaging it, which is going to slow down its repair, etc., etc. And lastly, you're like, man, you're giving a lot of good tips on how to wipe your base. Well, the thing is, you know, this base, people know it's here. It could get offlined anytime, and then I wouldn't be able to do the video if that was the case. So that's why I'm doing it now, so that if I do go to work, because I work, you know, I have a job, and someone offlines this base, then I'll at least have footage of it, and then we all, as a community, we can take this build and be like, well, this is what I think would help it, and then we support each other in the community, add on to the ideas of how to do a good build, and then so on and so forth. But anyway, guys, if you've stayed this long, and I usually will say that in the video, if you stayed this long, because I know I don't watch YouTube videos to the end most of the time, subscribe please. Mainly because it helps. What it does is when a YouTube channel has subscribers, it helps with the search category. It helps get our search to the top of the search bar. A lot of times, if you search Citadel and then anything to do with like fantasy stuff, it'll come up as Fallout 4 because there's like a Citadel city or something, I guess, in Fallout 4. And so that's not what we want. What we want is when you search Citadel Phoenix, it pops up to Citadel Forged with Fire, not Fallout 4. So please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It helps out. It's one button. I don't put ads on these videos because this is community content. So help everybody out by subscribing. Thanks, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.